The second segment of the Nightly News is brought to you by Labrie Credit Union. Labrie Credit Union. We are not a bank. We are better. Welcome back. Former Health Minister Alvina Reynolds is of the view that St. Lucians are prepared to make life-changing decisions regarding the vaccines, but require more one-on-one engagement with health officials in order to do so.
At this time, no. I believe in St. Lucians. I believe, and you're seeing when the Pfizer vaccine came out, you saw an increase in the number of persons getting vaccinated. Many people are saying now that they're waiting for Cuba, and Cuba is waiting for that acceptance from FDA, etc. So people are wanting to do it. They have their little anxieties, and we need to put the resources, more resources. I mean, the Prime Minister has to find the resources. Unfortunately, he must get the resources to put on the ground so people can have the one-on-one with the medical professionals. They can sit with them and tell them what the anxieties are. And so they can get an understanding of what about the vaccine, what about the protocols. Because the people that we see who are passing on, they are mothers, grandmothers, and then you have young people. So it's not to say it's just older folks. And we know we come from this country where we have a lot of underlying conditions. We have diabetes, and I'm sure you remember during the time I was in office, we pushed a lot of health promotion and wellness. That is, take care of your health. And so with the underlying conditions, we will see a lot of people, unfortunately, going down. But what is showing, what the science is showing, the research is showing, at the respiratory hospital, a lot of the persons who are recovering and going back home are persons who are being vaccinated. The persons who we are losing, a lot of them are persons who are unvaccinated. So as a people, we have to use our intelligence, our wisdom, our knowledge, and balance the information. Do some critical analysis of what is going on, and then speak to our families and make a decision as to what is it we want to do, how we want to go forth as a people, as a family, as community, as organizations. And I'm happy to hear Dr. Poyot say that she's meeting with the trade unions and the employers to see what is happening in vaccinations. Are the employers saying to the people, if you're not vaccinated, don't come to my workplace? You understand? So these things need to be discussed, and I applaud the government for all what they're trying to do to get a handle on it. At this time, I heard the UWP talking about shut down the country and all kinds of things. I mean, come on. We didn't, at the time the shutdown, we called for shutting down the country. There was no vaccine. You understand? And there's a lot of money. And we were saying, okay, you have money. There's no vaccine. Do something. And they refused to. Now we have no money. We have a vaccine. So we have to use all our communication strategies, all our ways of influencing and talking and getting people to understand how we can do it.
Grenada CMO Dr. Sean Charles says it is believed that a third of the country is affected by COVID-19, and if trends continue, about half the population could be affected. Dr. Charles calls the Grenada situation a national disaster, the results of which will change the landscape of the country. More in this report.
What is clear is that we are in the midst of a storm. We were predicting the onset of this storm. We were predicting the coming of this storm. We were looking at the potential impact that this storm would have on us. What is evident is that this storm has hit us, and it got really serious really fast. All right. I still believe that it blindsided a lot of Grenadians. It means that it took about 3 weeks for this virus to infect about a third of the population. All right, we know that Delta is extremely contagious. So if we continue on the current, with the current level of interaction, maybe in another 2 weeks, because looking at how exponential the transmission is, maybe in another 2 weeks, we pass 50% of the population, 1 in 2. All right, it's just a hypothesis. It's just an educated guess. All right, based on what we are seeing, we will hit a peak. This is basic epidemiology. The virus is going to continue to spread until it reaches every individual that is susceptible, that is not immune to it. And when we get there, how quickly we go back down will depend on us. All right? The climb is rapid, but the descent can be slower.
Meanwhile, the cabinet of Antigua and Barbuda has announced new COVID-19 policies which demand mandatory vaccination for all government employees, including those in the public service, statutory corporations, and companies in which the government owns majority shares. Effective Monday, September 20th, these employees are being asked to stay at home until they can present proof of vaccination. Those who can't will be required to remain at home until they can prove that they have taken the COVID-19 vaccine. Additionally, unvaccinated employees will not be paid a salary or wage for the period of non-compliance with the current policy. The policy is expected to stay in effect until the Antigua and Barbuda cabinet is advised by health officials that the COVID-19 situation is under control. In other news, Honorable Sean Edward, Minister responsible for Sustainable Development, has called on all relevant agencies and professionals to play their part in the protection of the ozone layer. Speaking on the world occasion of Ozone Day, the minister pledged his government's commitment to honoring all related international agreements.
My fellow St. Lucians, some of you would recall a time in the 1970s when the world was alerted to the dangers of certain chemicals used in everyday products such as refrigerators, air conditioners, fire extinguishers, and insulating foams. These chemicals, called ozone-depleting substances, were causing damage to the Earth's protective ozone layer, allowing dangerous amounts of ultraviolet radiation to flood through. We were told that this increased exposure to UV radiation can lead to skin cancers and eye cataracts in humans and can cause damage to plant and marine life, thus affecting our food security. As a result of this, the world was driven to action to find a solution to this problem, and in 1987, the Montreal Protocol on substances that deplete the ozone layer was established. For this agreement, all 197 countries of the world committed to eliminating their use of ozone-depleting substances. I am proud to say that St. Lucia has come a long way in achieving this target, having eliminated the first group of chemicals called chlorofluorocarbons, or CFCs, in 2008, and we are well on our way to phasing out a second group called hydrochlorofluorocarbons, or HCFCs, by the year 2030. In our endeavors to meet the obligations of the Montreal Protocol, St. Lucia has developed regulations to phase out and manage ozone-depleting substances. Measures were put in place to monitor and control the import and export of these substances, including the institution of import quotas and a licensing system. To prevent illegal trade, we have trained customs and other enforcement officers in the identification and classification of refrigerants and related equipment and the enforcement of the licensing quota system. I urge all importers and retailers of refrigerants and related equipment to comply with these regulations.
The Caribbean's foremost cultural festival, CariFesta 15, has been called off. This was confirmed by the Chief of Staff in the office of the Antiguan Prime Minister, Lionel Max Hurst. The cultural festival was to be staged in Antigua and Barbuda in August 2022 under the theme One Caribbean, One Environment, Diverse Cultures. The week of activities had already been postponed from August 12th to the 22nd, 2021 to August 11th to the 21st, 2022. It would have been the first time that Antigua would have hosted the event, which was set to attract more than 2,500 participants from across the region, diaspora, and Latin America. The cancellation is reportedly as a result of the continued challenges surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic and a lack of resources to successfully put on the event. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The second segment of the Nightly News was brought to you by Labrie Credit Union. Labrie Credit Union. We are not a bank. We are better.